course, this always runs through your mind, the risk of explosion, but we felt the gas company, Oklahoma Natural Gas, had the matter well in hand. They took precautions to be sure that all of the gas was out from underneath the buildings, and so we feel that every precaution was taken there.
Nine-year-old Paul Motes loved to ride his bike. In fact, the little boy that lived in this house loved lots of things. But that's in the past. Paul's young life was snuffed out in a moment during yesterday's explosion. He was dead on arrival at the hospital. Things are different today at the Motes house. Even the family dog Joe knows something's wrong. Jesse and Jimbo say their brother's favorite toy was his Hot Wheels car collection.
He would always go and play cars with me. We would trade a lot because we both got a lot of cars. Now that he's up in heaven, we can't trade. It's just pitiful.
Children are special. Though they feel pain as much as anyone, their view of death is from a different perspective. Adults, on the other hand, are more aware of reality and search for reasons.
I just don't realize why something like this could happen. You know, the kids, they have to go to school and get an education, but why can't it be safe for them to go?
Safety. That's what Paul's father is questioning today.
A couple of questions I'd like to ask, and I'd like everyone in the whole country to listen. With the school board letting the children out for teachers' meetings and things like this here, when there's no call to, why didn't they let those children out of that school yesterday when the gas company was working in the same area they were eating? Why?
Yesterday when I was on my way to the hospital, I just kept thinking that couldn't be my child, couldn't be any of mine.
What do you do from here?
I don't know. I haven't been able to think.
I tried to make as many arrangements as I possibly could. What do you do?
On Friday, Paul will be buried here at the Arlington Memorial Park Cemetery. As a sympathetic gesture, Arlington Memorial has offered a plot to each of the victims' families in yesterday's terrible tragedy. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at the Arlington Memorial Park Cemetery.
We have come this morning because Kareem is dear to all of us in some form or another. He was a friend, he was a student, and above all, he was a child. For us this morning, the reality that we have lost someone, but yet we have the hope that we have gained love, we have gained understanding, and we're still striving to see the will of God in our lives.
The problem of prison overcrowding was driven home to corrections officials earlier this week. Monday afternoon, 10 drunk inmates barricaded themselves inside a temporary dorm at the Granite State Reformatory. Heavily armed corrections officers had to be called in to retake the building. And just today, 2 inmates were knifed at Granite. Corrections Director Larry Meacham says the state's prisons are already overcrowded, with even more inmates waiting to get in.
If there's 308 right now, and we're projecting an increase this year of 450, so that is 758 people that not even anticipating the beds we're going to lose at McAllister in 83, June of 83. That's what I need by December the 1st or December the 30th, 1981, too.
Meacham explained the system's problems today during a corrections board meeting. More than 100 prison inmates are sitting in county jails across the state waiting for prison space. Another 55 prisoners will need new housing soon when the Tulsa Community Corrections Center is abandoned. Federal Judge Luther Bohannon has said the state could temporarily double cell about 300 inmates, but the judge also said that double celling would be unconstitutional. Late today, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals reversed Judge Bohannon on the double celling issue. The door is now open for corrections officials to relieve prison overcrowding by housing more than 1 inmate per cell. Scott Wallace, Action 4. The Corrections Board voted to put a 2-week hold on receiving new inmates, while the Attorney General appeals Judge Bohannon's double cell ruling to the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals. Scott Wallace, Action 4.
The fire was well on its way in one corner of the gym by the time it was discovered at 9 o'clock this morning. Eyewitnesses say the fire started here on the southeast corner of the building. Within a matter of minutes, strong southerly winds had pushed the flames across the roof.
Well, I heard the fire sirens go off about 9 o'clock this morning. I called City Hall to see what was going on, see if they needed help. I said the school was on fire and get over here as soon as I could get here. I came out the front door to come over here and I could see the fire clear from my house, which is clear at the north end of town. So I could tell it was a pretty good sized fire.
Firefighters from several nearby towns helped fight the blaze. Tankers from oil rigs working in the area provided much needed water. There was low pressure in the hydrants. Officials don't know the cause of that problem yet. The children were evacuated immediately so no one was hurt. Most of the students were told it was a drill, but the ones closest knew from the smoke it was more than that.
And my teacher asked the other teachers if they smelled anything, and they said yes. So we ran back, and the whole back part was filled with smoke. Then we walked back in, and the fire alarm went off, so we just all ran outside across the street.
The gym, the library, administration offices, and 4 classrooms were destroyed. The damage estimate could reach $2 million. State fire marshals investigating on the scene say the fire probably started near the furnace or water heater. They say the 30-year-old building was clean and well maintained and there is no burn pattern, so the exact cause of the fire may never be known. Classes in the Cherokee school are canceled for Monday. Over the weekend they'll try to decide just where they're going to hold them. But today they're not worried about that. Today they're just thankful that everyone got out safely. Ted Brown, Action 4 in Cherokee.
The school system's plumbers are being pulled off other duties to check all the hot water heaters in nearly 100 public schools. It is a time-consuming task because the safety of the children is involved. So the number of crews making the inspections will be doubled.
We started with the 2-man crew on last week, Thursday and Friday. Today we increased that crew to 4-man crew, to 4 crews, which we will complete by Thursday if everything goes well.
Have they found anything so far as they examine these heaters?
Nothing that would be a hazardous problem. We've found minor problems, but no hazardous problems.
The playgrounds are empty now. The crews hope to have their work finished up by Thursday. And then parents can rest a little easier that what happened at Star Elementary won't happen at their school. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at Harrison Elementary in northwest Oklahoma City.
Business transacted that needs to be. Yeah, I don't think we're very far away from one. And it's going to cost some money. Those, I think, the price on those is going to be somewhere around $8 million. But I think that whatever we do, whenever we do it, we're going to have to do at least that much. And I'm probably going to be of the opinion that, subject to what the consensus will be among the members of the Senate, I think I will probably urge that we take that position and try to do that.
The following report contains scenes which may be considered offensive by some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Last May, Action 4 aired Bloodsport, a newsbreaker series about organized dogfighting in Oklahoma. That series was shown again today to a House of Representatives subcommittee. The subcommittee was considering a bill that would make dogfighting a felony. The bill would also make spectators at a dogfight guilty of a misdemeanor. About 50 interested citizens were present for the hearing. Some of them were against the bill.
Any kind of law that you pass concerning dogfighting is going to reflect back on pit bull terriers. And it's unfortunate that we have to bear the brunt of a situation like that. There's hunters who have to bear the brunt of people who go out and poach and people who go out and set pastures on fire to get the game to run. But you don't legislate against hunting, you still allow hunting.
Representatives from the OSBI were also present for the meeting. They urged passage of the bill to combat the increase in dogfighting in the state. The most emotional argument was made by the bill's author, Representative George Osborne.
That animal feels pain, he's bleeding or dying all over the place. To God's heaven, how can anybody get any enjoyment out of that? I just do not understand that. I think a dog that can't protect himself and have any say-so in the matter is a harmless animal. It's no different than abusing that child that cannot fight back or do a thing. It's inhumanity to man, it's inhumanity to animals. There's not a bit difference in my opinion.
Representative Osborne expects the bill to be before the full House in about a week. He says the vote will be very close. But if he wins, Osborne says he's going after another group, the chicken fighters. Bill Ross, Action 4, at the state capitol.
Oklahoma City police arrived at what they thought was a shooting that turned out to be a brutal stabbing. 70-year-old Kenneth Burdick was stabbed and his throat slashed during a robbery. The murder happened in the office of the Gas and Go at 4300 Northwestern. Homicide detectives spent several hours looking for any clue that could lead them to a suspect. And today authorities have someone to look for in connection with the murder. He is 26-year-old Gary Eugene Johnson, described as having black hair and brown eyes. He is about 5 feet 10 inches tall and weighs about 165 pounds. Police are warning the suspect is considered extremely dangerous. Johnson's identity came by way of a tip.
We received a call through Crime Stoppers Thursday morning, supplying information about the possible suspect at the time and information regarding the armed robbery and the slaying. That information, of course, was forwarded to the homicide investigators. The information was, in fact, accurate and sufficient to warrant the filing of charges and the filing of an arrest warrant against the suspect.
Homicide detectives have investigated about a dozen murders since the start of the year in Oklahoma City, in many cases starting with no clues at all. They were fortunate this time to have a suspect. They're only hoping that the man they're looking for is still in the city. Ed Stewart, Action 4 Police Headquarters.
Oklahoma's first major storm of the year dumped up to 5.5 inches of rain in some parts of the city last night and early this morning. It was the city's first appreciable rainfall since early November, and in the north part of the city, it came down at a rate of about an inch per hour. The rains and winds prompted the National Weather Service to issue flash flood warnings for the water-saturated areas. High water levels stalled cars in several city streets and caused a number of accidents. The driver of this van missed his turnoff in the heavy downpour and overturned. Luckily, he was not hurt. Today, in the aftermath of the storm, the city is trying to dry out. Flooded creeks near the Garden House Apartments on North Pennsylvania Avenue caused sewage backup in several basement apartments. Residents are used to some weather problems in this area of the city, but they say this is the worst flooding they have seen. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4.
And it allows the water to go out this drain.
Just dust. It's clear.
Unit's thermostat should have shut off the natural gas burner.
Oklahoma City firefighters were able to quickly put out a fire at the Prince Hall Village Apartments this morning. The blaze started on the lower level but spread to other units upstairs. Officials estimate $30,000 worth of damage to building and contents. Fortunately, everyone got out safely. However, much of one resident's belongings were destroyed before the fire could be stopped.
I was getting my kids ready for school, and I heard something pop, and I smelled something. I went in the bedroom, got my baby out. By the time I got ready to get my kids out, I couldn't get them out. We had to just throw them over the banister to get them out because the flames was all up on the steps and everything. We barely didn't get out. They got out with nothing on.
Unofficial cause is said to be careless smoking by one of the tenants, but more investigating will have to be done. Ed Stewart, Action 4, Northeast Oklahoma City.
Also, does a wife ever have to pay the husband alimony? Well, the amount of child support is determined by the need of the parent having custody of the child and the non-custodial parent's ability to pay. More often than not, the need for support will exceed the ability to pay. With respect to alimony, there are basically two types. One is support alimony and the other is alimony in lieu of property division. Most people, when they refer to alimony, are referring to support alimony, which is the continued support payments of one party to the other, and which is also based on need. Further, although it is still rare, the law would allow, under certain circumstances, the payment of support alimony from a wife to a husband. For Action 4, this is Ray Vaughn with Legal Briefs.
The Coddington residence was completely engulfed in flames when firemen arrived shortly before 5 this morning. There were 3 people in the home at the time of the fire, and only 2 escaped. The victim, Larry Coddington, was trapped inside the burning home. His wife, Diane, suffered facial and hand burns while trying to save her husband. Diane's teenage sister escaped the burning home without injury. Firefighters say a space heater placed too close to flammable materials started the blaze. Damage estimates are not yet known. Debbie Mash, Action 4.
It's a hauntingly familiar tune. To the listeners, it means laughter, good times, and a little basketball. It means the Harlem Globetrotters. The Trotters try to make points, not just baskets, points more enduring than the scoreboard, which no one pays much attention to anyway. They're made by the jokes and antics that have made the team world famous for decades. The favorite court jester of the group is a native son of Crescent, Oklahoma.
Get it.
But when I was growing up in Oklahoma here, I used to do tricks out there on the floor, and the coach used to bench me. And then I just watched Globetrotters a long time ago, and then I go back in the game. I did the same thing in college, and they put me on the bench too.
I know where you going.
Ausbie is as famous as the team itself. A lot of people think he is the team, so celebrity is nothing novel to him, but he reacts to it like a new toy.
Ariel, look, we on TV. We on 2 TV. Hey, Oklahoma, we love you. Oklahoma.
Hey, for the people, that's what people need nowadays. A lot of laughter. Too much trouble in the world nowadays. And I think I got to make people happy. They forget about their problem for the day, and they can be relaxed. And so the Globetrotters been many years, and so we got to play straight basketball. People want to see us do tricks, and so we continue doing the tricks we do, and people see them like it.
Ausbie says you can see a fight in the NBA all the time. What people want and need is entertainment, and the Globetrotters will fill that bill.
Go now. Turn around. And out these scales and all.
So the measure provides tax relief for all Oklahomans regardless of their financial resources or regardless of their position in life. Of course, all families are different. Some buy expensive food and others buy very inexpensive food. I know there are a lot of people in Oklahoma that do not spend $62 a year buying groceries. They simply don't have the money to do it. But in anyone's eyes, if you look at the figures, it's more than balanced.
Ralph Knox is not one to let a job go undone. When snow hits Oklahoma City, he hops on his snowplow and is hard at work, removing snow for the entire block. Not for pay or even a pat on the back from city crews, but simply because he wants to help his neighbors out at the area of Northwest 55th and Western. Knox told Action 4 what he gets out of plowing snow.
Oh, well, I'm retired and I don't have anything to do. I get this snow off of here so my neighbors can get out and go to work.
This like an annual tradition every time Oklahoma gets some snow?
Not annual, every time it snows. Every time it snows, yeah. I'm known as a neighbor's neighbor.
Is it hard work?
Yeah, sure. It's cold, too.
Knox knows Oklahoma City can't be certain of having any measurable snowfall every year, but as long as the snow does come, he'll be ready for it. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in Northwest Oklahoma City.
The new airport parking garage is 5 stories tall but costs $11 million. However, it does effectively double the amount of parking now available here at Will Rogers Airport. More than 3,400 parking places now ready for the public. And that is good news to travelers weary of full parking lots and long walks to the terminal.
I don't think our public is going to have that hassle any longer. Once the garage is opened up here, there's going to be ample public parking spaces available. We don't expect the public to have to park on the grass anymore during the peak holiday travel periods. And sometimes we had to pull out the tractor brigades to pull them out of the mud and what have you when it was inclement.
That $11 million price tag also includes a 700-foot tunnel and a moving sidewalk to deliver travelers from the new garage to the terminal. The tunnel will operate as a 24-hour shuttle. Security could have been a problem in the wee hours of the morning, so 5 cameras were installed to help airport police keep an eye on their new turf. Here we go. Today's ribbon cutting marks the ceremonial opening of the garage and tunnel, but the building still lacks a final cleanup. In a couple of weeks, you'll be able to park in the new garage for $4.50 a day. By the way, the emblem on the front is the Will Rogers World Eagle. Larry Audis, Action 4, Will Rogers Airport.
That I have selected Lloyd Gramling to replace Tom Hagee as Chief of Police for the City of Oklahoma City. Tom.
Motion to take place. And I'll be looking at someone to fill my position very carefully within the next week or 10 days and make that decision. And then after I do that, then both the assistant chiefs and myself will sit down and make a number of decisions that will hopefully have some effect on the future of the Oklahoma City Police Department. And
Supposed to be here. My boss is going to.
Yeah.